Now, I discussed this briefly on Open Mic on the weekend, but I thought we would talk about it here again, Rob, since you're here now, and we should get a little bit more into it. But one of the movies that was coming out on Netflix, and you guys know how I feel about Netflix, amazing, fantastic, high caliber television series that they constantly crank out. Not so great on their original movies. They've struggled. I think that's fair to say they've struggled. For every one Irishman, there have been 40 or 50 totally forgettable, low quality, trash and throw them away movies. Then we got Old Guard last month, which I actually quite enjoyed. I mean, I really enjoyed Old Guard. One that we've been looking forward to, though, ever since the trailer dropped, was the Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt film, Project Power. It came out on Friday, I believe, is when it came out. I watched it immediately. Now, as you can see right now, it doesn't have the best critic or audience ratings. It's got a 62% critic rating, which isn't bad. I mean, it's still fresh. That means the majority of the critics like it. And 57% audience rating. Again, not horrible. It does mean more than half the people liked it. There you go. So this movie comes out, and Rob, I'm not going to lie. I did not think this was a good movie. I think it was a terrific premise, because, we saw the trailer, and you and I reviewed the trailer for Project Power on this show.
Sure.
And we both loved the idea, the concept. It had a little bit of that Bradley Cooper film Limitless. Had a little bit of a Limitless feel, but the idea was you take this pill and you get a superpower for 5 minutes, and each person has a superpower for them. Like, if you take the pill twice, you're going to get the same superpower. But you take a pill, you get a power for 5 minutes. Really interesting concept, really interesting setup. I got into watching the movie, and I found that that's all it was. It was just concept, and it was never really properly fleshed out. I just found it a little bit tedious to get through. There are some highlights. Jamie Foxx, I thought, was great in it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, we haven't seen him a lot lately, and it was really good, and I always love seeing Joseph Gordon-Levitt on screen. I'm forgetting her name right now. She's one of the newcomers, the girl who plays the dealer that joins up with them. She was really good, actually. I quite enjoyed her in it. There are certainly some moments and some scenes that are interesting, but overall, I thought the villain's evil, nefarious, mustache-twirling plot was lame. It broke all senses, if I may borrow from you for a moment, Rob, of verisimilitude. There was absolutely no verisimilitude in this. And just overall pretty disappointing. I'm not going to call it an absolute crap show of a movie, of a film, because it does have some redeeming elements. And I don't think somebody is totally wasting their time to go and watch it. But for me, it once again highlighted what we generally get from Netflix original films. Low quality, lowest common denominator, rush it out the door. I mean, this is actually filmed years ago and all that kind of stuff, but you know what I mean? They go, for Netflix original movies, they seem to go for quantity rather than quality. And it was just another one of those instantly forgettable, kind of something you can watch to pass the time, but nothing anybody's going to be really all that excited about. Although, again, the majority of the critics do like it. A slight majority of the audience seems to like it, but I was quite disappointed with it, especially after such an excellent trailer. Rob, you had a chance to watch Project Power. What are your impressions of it?
Well, I have to say that I'm very mixed on this movie. First of all, there is now a trend that Netflix has started, and it's all about the premise. Remember back in post-1988 where we got a bunch of different Die Hard clones? It's Die Hard on a bus, Speed. It's Die Hard on a boat, Under Siege. So they use this Die Hard premise. The everyman gets involved over his head with terrorists.
Don't forget Die Hard on a plane with Passenger 57.
Die Hard on a plane, Always Bet on Black, a Passenger 57. Now we're seeing these genre pastiches, which from a premise, when you walk into a room and you pitch these things, now what if it was Lord of the Rings, but in the modern day, and one of the orcs was a cop, and we'll do that story. So that's Bright. Now we've got the Old Guard. It's Highlander. But what if the Immortals were actually soldiers, like special ops soldiers? And in this, it's like, what if we have superheroes, but it's at street level crime, and all of these stories are You just take one thing and another that are sort of incongruous and you put them together. And that pitch sounds really good. And I think that in the case of this movie, the premise is easily understood. You know, they use other elements like, oh, it's limitless, but instead of an hour, you get it for 5 minutes. And I like the fact that it's kind of this more dystopian New Orleans. I thought they really used the New Orleans location where they shot this. I thought it was really effective. It was very grungy, and you really felt it. Jamie Foxx is, I think, one of the most underappreciated performers in movies today.
Yes.
Always liked Jamie Foxx. I mean, first of all, he's almost ageless. I keep thinking about how I loved Michael Mann's Miami Vice, the film version of Miami Vice. He was great in that. I love Jamie Foxx. I love his presence. I love watching him. I think he's a pretty electrifying performer. He's very physical. I mean, sometimes his line readings get a little monotone based on his character. But this film, once you've moved beyond the premise of this, you know, the street level idea about peddling this drug, it becomes the most formulaic, ordinary. I mean, even though the overarching conspiracy element of it, I mean, I was thinking about things like RoboCop 2, where we're going to sell the drug Nuke, you know, and that was 30 years ago. And they're not the premise, the genre pastiche idea. I'm sure when you go and pitch these things, everyone's like, wow, man, that's awesome. That sounds great. But beyond that, the stories themselves haven't lived up to their genre pastiche premises. And I find it, I mean, I don't know what other kind of stories that you're going to tell. It's also easy to understand. It's easier to make. And the character relationships are very easy to come by. And I just feel that while I love mid-level, I mean, these are true B movies. These are the successors to the movies New Line was making in the 80s, like movies like The Hidden, you know, where if you've ever seen The Hidden, you've got these two aliens chasing each other, but they're actually on Earth, and they take the bodies of human beings and they continue their chase. And I love those movies, but they're clearly B movies, and they class up their premises by look, I thought this movie was well directed. I thought it was well shot, but it was it was just so, in a way, by the numbers. And they gave us a lot of interesting stuff, but okay, it's a conspiracy to put poor people down, or we're going to destabilize governments. I mean, take your conspiracy theory pick and just insert it in. The script felt just paint by numbers, the same way that Bright did, and to a certain extent the Old Guard, which I liked, but it was still, again, the same thing that we've seen before, over and over again.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate because, like, I think it's fair to say you and I both really liked the trailer. We thought that there was a lot of promise there.
And John, I liked watching it, but I knew where it was going to go after the first 5 minutes. None of it surprised me.
Question is, guys, what did you think about Project Power if you've had a chance to check it out so far? Maybe you're one of those people who actually, you quite enjoyed it. Like I said, there are a number of critics and fans who do like it. Maybe it worked better for you. What are those things that worked for you? Maybe it didn't work for you. What are the things that didn't? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.